And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
As a teenager, I was a big fan of programming. I would sit around the house sometimes and write out basic programs as soon as I found a book that showed how programming worked, and I was fascinated by it. If only I had stuck with it, I might be rich today. But I was called a geek and a nerd. Of course, I'm not that any longer. But anyhow, I was very excited to see this game, 101, because this game purported to take the programming thing, the basic programming, and go to and copy and paste and enter and all that sort of thing, and bring it to a card game. That's exciting! Okay, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to place here this 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 in a line here to basically demonstrate this. You also have a run card up here. And then next these are a 0 and a 1. This is to show who wins each line at the end of the game, so you don't really need them. But each player is going to get a pile of cards that are zeros on one side and ones on the other. One player is going to be zeros and one player is going to be number 1. On your turn, the first thing that you need to do is you need to input. Basically, you play a card to the program. Now, I can place it to the leftmost in any column in 10 or 20. You can't place it in 30, 40, or 50 unless every column above that has cards that has at least 3 cards. So let's say, for example, this was how these columns looked, or these rows looked. Then you could place cards in row 30, and so on and so forth. There's no limit to the number of cards per row except for row 50. Once row 50 has a third card, the game will end. Now, after you play a card, you will also look at what else is on that card. So, for example, if I play this 0 here, let's say the 1 was played, and I played this 0 here, it has a delete on it. So if I play it like this, boom, it deletes this card. That card is removed. Now, again, the colors don't matter because there are some cards that will cause other cards to flip over. So I might turn your green 0 now into my green 1. And there are actually many different cards that do different things. For example, and it also depends on where you put it. So if I place this 1 here, it will do something to this side, or it might do something to this side, depending on the orientation of the card. If I place it this way, this one says if 0 then 1. That is a 0. Now it's a 1. This one here has a print on it. So when I put this one here, let's say I put it here, I must now play another card immediately in the space below it, print. This one here, it says save. Save means it protects it and the card next to it. And there's all different kinds of cards. Some of them are only used in the quote-unquote advanced game, like go to 10, which sends a card to 10 row. Syntax error cut, where you take a card out, and then another card paste will bring that card back in. Here's a if it's 0, then turn it to a 1, else delete. And so there's different styles of cards. There's one that flips over every other card in a column, but there are also cards that have nothing on them at all, that are simply just a generic 0 or a 1, depending on what you are, and when you place those out, you're done. At the end of your turn, you draw back up to 3. At the end of the game, you're going to look at each row, and whoever has more numbers in that row is going to win that row. So here 0 gets it, hooray! I'm sorry, 1 gets it, hooray, and here 1 gets that one, and we keep going on. What you do then is you add together the points. Whoever wins this row gets 10, whoever wins this row gets 20, 30, 40, and 50. Whoever has the most points wins. If there's a tie, whoever controls the bigger row is the winner of the game. If neither player controls the row, or there's not 3 cards in that row, then no one gets points for that row. Yeah, I really like the programming theme, so where is it? Okay, yes, I know that the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 lines are there. And I know that you have a delete and a cut and paste. And you have a if this, then that. But it's not, those are really just terms that they've used to basically put Uno actions in here. You know, basically, or basically just any card game action, they just called them by programming names. and you never actually run the program. Technically, at the end, you run the program, and if there's more ones in the line, then the ones win. If there's more zeros, then the zero wins. But that's not running a program, and that's not how running a program works. See, the idea would be really neat if you put cards out, and then you ran the program, and based on the order that the cards were in, different things would happen. That would be a fascinating idea, but that's not it. You say, Vasel, you're too hung up on the theme. You're right. So let's take the theme out of it. Let's just talk about the game mechanisms on their own. Even that I'm not really a big fan of. You're essentially putting out zeros and ones. First of all, the zeros and ones that have no words on them are boring. They're useless and all you do is put out a number. Secondly, the biggest lines matter. It just matters getting things into 50. So it's all a kind of a, are you going to put the third one in row 3 so I can put one in row 4? I mean, the first person to get a card in row 5 has row 5, unless the other person has a special card that can change it, right? If I put a 1 in row 5, I've won it, because I'll put another 1 second one. You're like, no, I'll put a 0 there, but then I'll put a 1 in the third one, and then the game's over, and I have 50 points, which is probably more than you, unless you got the 40, the 30, the 20, and the 10. Because let's say I got the 50 and the 30. That's 80 points. 40, 20, and 10 are only 70. That 50 is just that much more powerful. It's 5 times more important than the first row. Yes, again, this is where they took the theme, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and let's make that theme important. But if the theme doesn't actively work with the mechanism of the game, don't do it! This game just had no fun into it. It was put zeros and ones. I like some of the concepts. Flip cards over, that's cool. Make cards go away, how you put the cards out. But since most of the cards didn't do anything, many times you're forced to put a card in a position that didn't really matter. It just came out to be a very bland style 2-player game. And it looks like something like, I'll give this as a gift to my programming friend. Don't do that, because I don't want to have to look at the dent in your forehead from where they threw this game back at you, shouting that it had nothing to do with programming. Cool concept, but no game. Dice Tower Judgment, programming, this is not.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
Do.